You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. Turn your dream home into a reality with Home Creations, a family-owned and operated builder with over 40 years of trusted experience right here in Oklahoma. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to schedule a showing or visit our website for more details. Home Creations, building homes, shaping futures, strengthening communities. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at the branch today in Oklahoma City, right off Automobile Alley. If you haven't been to the branch, you should check it out. It's right above Yote Coffee, co-working space. It's killer. And at the helm is Kelly Masters, who has been on the podcast a couple of times. This is her co-working spot that shares the space with her KMM Sports Empire, which you should definitely check out that too. So thanks, Kelly, for hosting us. Gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Keaton Ely, who is known as DJ Gold Lincoln. Let's start with that name. Where does that come from?
So I started out as an audio engineer, and one of my buddies who raps kind of got tired of people just calling me Keaton. And so he's like, man, we got to come up with a name. And so we were in my studio, and he was just asking me a bunch of questions. And the one that kind of stuck, he was like, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? And at the moment, I was like obsessed with gold. So I was like, I would take all the gold in the world. And he asked me the second question, and it was, who's your favorite president? And it was Abraham Lincoln. Okay. So that's where it came from. He was like, I got it. It's Gold Lincoln.
Really disappointed. I thought you were about to say you wanted gold-plated Lincoln.
I would have loved that as well, but
yeah. Also, Keaton's not really a name that I know many other friends named Keaton. So
yeah, I've only met one or two in my entire life. So it's been cool. I thank my mom for that. You know, she didn't name me Dylan or Landon or something.
Tom or John or whatever, like everybody else. Yeah. Who's the friend? You should name him and shame him.
Griff Carter, man. One of my best friends. Met him my freshman year of high school. Yeah. We've been best friends ever since. So.
Okay. Where'd you go to high school?
Kingfisher, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Little country.
Tell me about growing up in Kingfisher and how that happens, and also how you then. I can't imagine there's much Kingfisher influence in your music skills, but I'm excited to find out if there is.
So I originally grew up in Enid, Oklahoma, and that's kind of where my music passion came from. Playing basketball, hearing people freestyle, making beats, stuff like that. But got into a little bit too much trouble there. And so kind of got recruited for sports, went there for football. And funny story, I was like in class in 8th grade. Our basketball team was undefeated. And I get called to the office. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, all right, what did I do wrong? You know, I'm like nervous. And my mom's in there. She's got all my stuff packed. Shipped me to Kingfisher same day. And I'm in like my favorite Jordans, and I pull up and everybody's in cowboy hats, and like ag class is the coolest thing there. You know, I didn't even know what ag was at the time. And so it was like a culture shock for sure. But Kingfisher ended up definitely keeping me focused and out of trouble. It was small enough, you know, you couldn't really do too much. So it definitely kept me out of trouble.
How old is 8th grade?
So I was like 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like in the middle of thinking like, I am indestructible. I feel really good. I'm awesome at football and basketball. And then you get like this sledgehammer that comes in. That's hey, come on, you're going to Kingfisher.
And just very confused. Like, what? We pull up there, and I'd never seen so many cowboys, you know.
Lifted trucks, the whole thing.
Oh yeah, the whole thing, man.
What was so kind of, I guess, different in Enid than Kingfisher? Because most people listening would just think they're both the same thing, right?
So Enid is much bigger. I would say it's close to the size of Edmond. 6A school, you know, 3 or 4 different schools there, but nothing to do. So you would have a problem of, you know, kids throwing house parties really young. At like 14, you know, we were partying, drinking, smoking weed, all that stuff. I ended up like taking one of my friend's brother's girlfriend's car for the night with some friends, and that's kind of why I got in trouble and we had to end up moving. But just a lot of chaos there. And, you know, Enid is also top 5 in the nation for opioid abuse.
Oh, wow.
Which is like a pretty big deal. So
yeah,
everybody was taking pills or some type of drug, you know, especially at a young age. And I think my mom was smart enough to realize that pretty early on and, you know, got me out of there. So it was a blessing in disguise. I was very mad in the moment, but now that I'm older, I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. So did you all move to Kingfisher? Or
just me and my mom.
Just you and your mom?
She shipped me out, man.
Wow.
She really sacrificed a lot to get me out of there.
Shout out to mom for that one, right?
Yeah, shout out to mom. Dealing
with you being all mad and irritated and, you know, teenager going through all the things, like, yeah, and then you're like, yeah, let's go to Kingfisher. Like, what have you done to my life? It definitely worked out. It took me about a year to settle in, but yeah, it worked out. It was cool. What year was that you moved? So that would have been 2009. Yeah. 2009. So I moved in the middle of my 8th grade year, which I think was a little bit more rough, you know, kind of getting settled in. And then halfway through the year, you know, I'm like the new kid at a new school. I have no idea. I'd never even heard of Kingfisher, you know. Were you then the star football player and basketball player because you'd been at a 6A school going to Kingfisher? They had a couple athletes there, but I was definitely top tier there, which was cool. But then I also felt like I did enjoy playing with really talented kids because it made you better, you know. So going to Kingfisher, you know, was definitely a top tier athlete there. But they do play a lot of really good private schools like Heritage Hall, where we played like Sterling Shepard and Barry Sanders Jr. And, you know, both of them went pretty far in their career. So I think, you know, after I got in high school, I was a little bit more impressed with the competition that we had. Yeah. You know. What's kind of like your aspirations and direction for life at that point? Do you have any, what were the dreams of Keaton when he's 14, 15, 16 years old, listening to, you know, hip hop music and playing basketball and football? Definitely the NBA. Yeah. I full-heartedly thought I was going to make it. Yeah. And then, you know, didn't grow anymore. I was a 6-foot white kid, so that's what happened. Yeah. Any highlights from high school, basketball or football that you remember? Oh, yeah. I mean, playing Sterling Shepard was definitely one of them. Caught an interception against him, which was really cool. And then he made it, you know, to OU and had a phenomenal career there, and then, you know, went to the league. So it was really cool. I saw him at a Kid Cudi concert one time. He invited me to his section. I got to, you know, kind of hang out with him when I was a junior in high school, which was cool. Yeah. And nobody really knew how good he was, you know, until you have such a career like that, you know, and then you just really respect people who work that hard, you know? Yeah. So that was probably one moment where I was like, you know, this is pretty cool. So you were super focused in high school then on athletics, basketball sounds like mainly was your focus.
Yeah, I mean, I always enjoyed music, kind of where I had a shift, I think, where maybe my love for sports and music leveled out. Carter, who I mentioned earlier, I was actually at a house party. I was the only freshman there, and I'd heard this kid freestyling outside, and it was just incredible. So I went up and introduced myself, and I was like, you got any music out? And we had this conversation, and he didn't. So we ended up becoming friends, and we went in on a laptop and just kind of started, creating music on our own, YouTube University kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's really where it kicked off, I think, of thinking, we could do something with music.
Yeah.
If sports doesn't work out, it's kind of like a plan B option.
Okay. So alongside, you're literally practicing doing this, and then you and Carter are just
making music,
yep. Hanging out, best friends.
Yep.
What was the influence back then?
Music-wise?
Yeah.
We went to a bunch of shows, man. So, and Josh Lee was one of our people we looked up to. We went to a few shows of his. And, I think 2012 was a really good time for music. Wiz Khalifa was, kind of coming up. Kid Cudi, Big Sean, Drake. I mean, it was an incredible time for music. So all this music was just flooding in, so we had tons of inspiration everywhere we looked.
Is Carter another white kid too?
He is. He's actually a white redheaded kid who his father is fully Spanish and his mom's fully white, but you wouldn't ever know he was Spanish by looking at him.
That's awesome.
It's kind of funny.
Is he still in the industry?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He actually just released an EP called So Be It about 4 months ago. So
yeah, other than Josh being and formerly Josh Lee, formerly on the podcast, doing great in the music world, about to open up a vintage golf store called Easy Day.
Yeah,
shout out Josh.
Very excited about that.
What other kind of local stuff is there? I mean, you mentioned going to shows. Was there anything else, or other than what Josh was doing, or that takes you, or you really trying to travel?
We had really heard of a few people, but at that time, man, and Josh Lee was everywhere, So even when we would go see people like Juicy J, Josh was opening up for them. He had his hand in the pot everywhere in Oklahoma, which was really cool to see. And then meeting him later on and now working with him it's really cool.
Yeah. You guys do math together?
Oh yeah.
His story about starting, that's hilarious.
It was a really wild time, man. And it came so organic, I think is why it's worked so well for so long. We're almost on year 4.
Mm. Tell me about kind of the other side then, the athletic side. How far does the dream go? Do you end up choosing to go to college? Do you follow music in college? Do you follow sports?
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to go play college basketball at Northwestern. I think it was maybe 2 weeks after I graduated. We were moving from Kingfisher back to Enid because all my family was there. And I had one kid with me helping me move who had some marijuana in the car. And I was kind of a troublemaker in Kingfisher, so I was on the radar, So we're leaving, and I kind of told everybody, hey, make sure, nothing's in the car. And I get pulled over immediately, pulling out, and they want to search my car. So I'm like, you know what, just search it. We got to, get on the road. And they check this backpack, and there's a pipe. And it's 2014. It's still very illegal,
And you're in Kingfisher.
And we're in Kingfisher.
Yeah.
So they take the pipes, confiscate it. And at the time, I was young and kind of naive. I didn't realize whatever's in the car comes back on the driver, So at that time, I could have sold them out, and I didn't. And I get a job working construction, until everything works out. And they pull up to where I was at, arrest me, take me to jail. So, I'm calling that kid hey, man, you got to turn yourself in, yada, yada. And he never did. He actually ended up moving to Texas, kind of fled. And so I was on probation for 2 years, lost, any basketball opportunity that I had.
Oh, wow.
And kind of just went into building houses, man.
Yeah.
Went from there. So then at that point in time, it was music was the only option for me.
Right. How old are you at that point? 18, 19, 20 years old?
19 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so I kind of took a 360 pretty quick. But as mad and frustrated as I was at that time, there were so many lessons that I learned throughout that probation, period, that I think really allowed me to dig deep in what I believe in. And, because there was a lot of nights where I couldn't go to the party, I couldn't do this, so I'm just stuck in the studio learning and, believing in myself with nobody else around, which I think is very important to have.
I mean, just listen to you talk about it. Like, there's so many lessons of people that go through, and people go through tough times at all ages, but it's such a pivotal moment in your life, thinking, I'm going to college, I'm going to play basketball, kind of going back home to Enid, and then that happens.
Yeah.
Right? You're rocked, and then you're young and pissed off, and the world hates me.
Yeah.
And you manage to really focus on music, which is, I mean, we're here today, so clearly you've made a career out of it, and you've done something right doing it, and still doing it.
Yeah.
So there's so many lessons there that we should share. Tell me about that time in your life. Let's dive into it. What's going through your head? What are you thinking? What's family thinking? Like, you end up going and building homes, which is not easy to do. No,
it was very hard work. I think my first thought at that time was, I'm going to kill this kid, who I kind of, was friends with. And I had to go to, probation classes and pay tons of fines and fees. And it was just always having to do something. Hair follicle testing, so I've always smoked weed, so I couldn't smoke weed, which I think was like a tough time in my life where I was like, let me just get high and forget about it. You couldn't really do that, So I started working out a lot, which helped. I got pretty buff at that time, and I just really locked into music. And I wasn't DJing at that time. It was just audio engineering. So I opened up a home studio, and I would just have every rapper around the Enid area come in. I was kind of making extra money after working construction doing that. And my other friend, Devin Woods, he's also a rapper. Me, him, and Carter, we got a South by Southwest slot. This was like 2016. So we travel down there, we do a show, and I'm like kind of DJing off my laptop off iTunes. And we do really well at the show. People were very happy. And then this DJ comes up after me, and he starts hitting like soundtracks, and he's like on the mic, and it just like is really hyped up. And I'm looking at it like, we're really missing something here, like we need a DJ. So 2018, we go back to South by Southwest. I still hadn't learned to DJ, but I'd mentioned it to some friends, support music. Like, we need, somebody to really help us out here. So I ended up buying a DJ board from one of my friends and kind of handed it off to him. I was like, yo, learn this, you can do it for us. And I want to say this is like maybe 2019, 2020, kind of around the COVID era. And COVID hits, and we get locked down, and I just had this DJ board, and we figured it out, man, for like a year. It's like every night we had people over at the house, and we just DJ'd for hours. And we would go on Facebook Live, and people would like request tips, and we were kind of making money off Facebook Live. Some of our Facebook Lives got like pretty popular, like 600 people were in one of them, and somebody from the Collective was in there, and that was my first gig. So the Collective, was like, hey, we need a DJ when we open up, which like for us, we were like, holy shit, it's the Collective, like let's do it. And then we just started picking up gigs after that, and I'm kind of here, man. It was just a passion, I guess, just for music in general. And DJing, what I think I fell in love with was being an audio engineer. My goal was to make each individual artist sound the best that they could with their voice, because everybody's voice is so different. And then DJing, it's like those songs already sound so good, and now I just have to mix them. I just fell in love with it, man. So it's kind of why I think I really steered away from audio engineering and going full-time DJ.
What leads you to audio engineering initially? Like, what piqued your interest as a kid to get into audio engineering and sound and music and all of that side of it? Because you mentioned like, rapping and doing some other things, but audio engineering is technical, and it's not really the most glamorous side of it. For sure. Right? So I'm interested to find out why you wanted to go down that route versus like, I want to be on stage, I want to rap, I want to be the MC, I want to be a DJ, which eventually comes later, but why audio engineering first? I think I believed in Doughboy Dev and Griff Carter so much that I wanted to learn something, because I knew I couldn't rap the same way they could, and somebody had to do it. So I think I just took that into consideration, was like, you know what, I'm going to learn this part, because we can't go to the studio and pay thousands of dollars to have somebody do it. So we invested in equipment. And then I really kind of fell in love with that, after like recording, and it doesn't sound very good, and then you work on it for an hour, and then you're like, okay, this doesn't sound bad,
we're improving. I think that's really what kicked it off for me, is just believing in their talent so much, but not having that outlet, to get the music out.
Yeah, and then the timing comes right, and you're just locked in a room, right? Like you're on probation, you're like, well, I may as well just dive into this now.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to me a little bit about the lives that you guys did that you eventually get discovered from. Like, what are you guys doing on the lives, the three of you, type of music, the influence, the plan? Like, what are you just kind of like, hey, let's just go live tonight? Or was there like a structure and you guys were
So
doing
there was a rapper, Tory Lanez, who started an Instagram live, and this is kind of where we got the idea. His Instagram live was, I think, the most popular Instagram live for a consecutive amount of time during the whole COVID thing. And he was like getting sponsorships and doing a whole bunch of stuff on his lives, and we were watching it like, this is a great idea. And so we just kind of did it as a joke, basically like, playing music, and we're like, if you guys want to hear anything, here you go. And I have a pretty entertaining friend who was with me, just kind of being silly on camera. And when we get to 600 viewers, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of people in here, like, what are we going to do? And we started making money from tips. And at nighttime, I was like, no one's got anything to do. And so I'm good friends with the barber. And he had called me one day and he's like, dude, your guys' lives are funny. You guys are playing good music. We're just playing your live for our barber shop. So just keep playing music, So I was like, okay, that's cool. And then, like I said, the collective hit us up. And then COVID was over. And so we started DJing the collective, and then we got the Wolf Trap in Edmond. And so those were like my first 2 residencies, which was really cool.
Shout out the Wolf Trap.
Shout out the Wolf Trap, right? Man. They've been around for a long time.
A lot of people need to go. A lot of people drive by and know it from the outside and have never been inside.
Oh, they got to go inside.
Go inside.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
you have to go inside.
It's like a dive bar you got to go to.
You have to. Tell me about that first collective gig and that moment, and also, what are you doing on the side? I mean, this is still music on the side. Are you still working construction during this whole time as well? Or
so, to go back, I want to say I moved to Oklahoma City in 2018.
Okay.
And funny story, one of my best friends, Mikey, is good friends with Zonley Lumen. I don't know if you're familiar, but I ended up I was roommates with them two for, I think, 2 years. And Zonley had art all over the house, and so I was like, dude, this kid is so talented. And he actually wanted to rap at that time, so my studio was set up at the house, and he did, some of his first songs in the closet where I had my studio. And then to see his, music career kind of take off and his art career take off too is really cool. But I think I moved to the city like late 2018, 2019. And I worked at a golf course. I was a greenskeeper and made terrible money.
Which golf course?
It was Oak Tree.
You worked at Oak Tree, like national or family side?
I'm not sure. It was just a private Oak Tree. I don't know. I just had a buddy who worked there and was like, yo, I can get you on. 2 golf courses or 1? It was just 1. Really nice, though.
National.
Yeah. Very nice. But
where's your passion for golf come from?
I don't have any. So I just worked there just from recommendation,
Love it.
Which was cool because we would wake up super early, but I started to really enjoy the sunrise, and I would listen to podcasts all day, and I was still pretty frustrated at that point just from the turn. And so I found like Jordan B. Peterson, and I would listen to his podcast every day, which taught me a lot. Like, I learned a lot from that golf job, but my paycheck's 2 weeks, $500, I'm like, I can't do this. So I had another buddy who's like, why don't you go serve? And I'd never served before. And I think at that time, like, I was never super talkative. So he got me a job serving. And that really helped, I think, with communication skills and all that stuff. And then I got my first bartending gig at Old Chicago, which was one of my favorite jobs ever. And so from then, I just bartended and did music on the side for years. And so, like, last year, I recently quit bartending, and now I'm full-time DJing.
Okay. Congrats. It's
Thank
a big
you.
step.
It's a big step. Yeah, it's been cool.
Take me back to you. I'm a golfer. This is my world. Take me back to, because I can, as soon as you said picturing the sunrise on a golf course, like working at a golf course, and it's, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, sun's coming up, it's cold, but the sun's coming up, you got that mist. It's a pretty magical place. Regardless if you're a golfer or not.
Very magical.
And you say, you dive into podcast and you're really kind of down a bit of a self-development route at that point?
Yep.
What stands out to you from that time in your life?
I think just enjoying the now, and being thankful for what you have, you know, because sometimes in the moment you think it's so bad, you know, and it's really not. And I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned is like, you know, really dig deep and see how many blessings you really do have around you. And it's not as bad as what you think it is. You know, there's a lot of, you know, worse problems you could have. And I think working at that golf course really taught me that for sure.
Any big life lessons from Jordan Peterson?
Oh yeah. Clean your room, man.
Clean your room?
Make your bed and tell the truth.
Okay.
Those are my three biggest, I think.
It's pretty hard to do all three.
It's very hard.
In today's world.
It's very hard to do all three. I think the hardest one for me is making my bed. You know?
That's really cool to have that and to have that appreciation. And now you understand. I mean, obviously, Josh, our mutual friend, the golf side of things, he's down the rabbit hole. Golf, you know, what we call in the golf world, a bit of a golf sicko.
I would say he's definitely that, for sure.
Addicted.
He might like golf more than music.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he'd have played professional golf over being a musician.
For sure. Yeah. I think so as well.
Back to my question, because my fault, we got off track. Collective call, and you get a gig at the Collective. What's that first gig like?
So nervous, man.
Yeah.
I had another buddy who was kind of helping me DJ at the time. We learned together, and no joke, like first hour, I run off. I'm just like nervous. I'm in the back, and I come back, and he's like, dude, where have you been? I'm like, oh, I was trying to handle some stuff. And he's like, what are you talking about? You know, like, you left me up here by myself. So the first few gigs, definitely stage fright, nervous, you know, not really wanting to be in front of people. I think that was one of the hardest things I had to learn, just to be comfortable, you know, performing, I guess.
Are you doing the evening, the brunch? What time of day were you doing for there?
We were doing the evening. Okay. So it was like, you know, 9 to 1:45 a.m. So some nights would get really busy. Some nights would be okay. But we did that for like a year and a half. And that really kind of built the belief of maybe we could really do this, you know, like there's some money here to be made.
Yeah. And at this time, you're bartending on the side, or quote, doing both, DJing, bartending.
Yep, bartending, you know, during the day, sometimes at night, and then would go DJ.
Yeah. Not the healthiest way to live life, right?
No, absolutely not. Tons of alcohol involved,
yeah.
You know. Late nights.
Talk about
lack of sleep.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So I think I really try to focus on, you know, taking vitamins, getting as much sleep as possible, staying hydrated, eating as healthy as I can, you know. Sometimes a Brahms burger always sounds good, but
God, bag of burgers is the
bag
best.
Of burgers, man.
I do remember my first.
Nothing like them.
Do you know Hunter Owen?
I don't think so.
Hunter Owen bought me my first 5.
Shout out to that guy.
Shout out to Hunter Owen. He's not going to be listening because he's always busy, but he's doing something. But yeah, I remember.
Had to change your life a little bit, huh?
Yeah, he's like, have you ever been to Brahms for food? I'm like, no, ice cream only. And he goes, I'm about to change your life. It's like,
bag of burgers, man, $5.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, all right, I guess we're doing dinner here for the rest of my life. Legendary. What big breakthroughs happen up to? And I don't mean big breakthroughs as far as like career. I mean just breakthroughs as in like you personal journey leading up to getting that Collective gig. Does anything stand out?
I think, you know, my family was always a little bit worried with how passionate I was with music. They always wanted me to have a backup plan. And I think they thought I was a little insane because I never had a backup plan. I think I fully believed in it. So I think the Collective and the Wolf Trap changed a little bit of a viewpoint of just, you know, people around me who were maybe like, hey man, get a job with some benefits and a 401k, you know. It's like I brought home a couple checks, you know, and they were like, okay, like at least you're making some money from it finally, you know. I think that was probably the coolest thing for me to say, like, I can pay some bills with this, you know.
Yeah. I mean, proving it's the cliche thing of showing up to Thanksgiving, right? Showing up to a Christmas party or like a family dinner or something, and they're like, "What do you do again?" Like,
yeah,
I DJ. They're like, yeah,
they're
sure.
Like, oh yeah, sure.
When
yeah.
you get a real job.
It's like, no, I made $300 yesterday. Like,
yeah, like you're just living off ramen noodles. You have 10 roommates. And
yeah.
But back to your upbringing, you know, like I can understand why they would have been worried.
Oh yeah,
right.
I mean, it was until last year where my mom was like, you know, I'm happy you didn't quit. This is amazing. You know,
How did that feel?
Great. Even my sister, who's my biggest critic, but also like my biggest mentor, she's 10 years older than me. She's very successful. So we always had those talks of like, you know, Keaton, it might be time to da-da-da. And I was so hard-headed, like, I'm not ready yet, you know, and then I'm 26 and she's like, Keaton, you're 26, you know, like da-da-da. And for her, it was like 6 months ago when she gave me that like recognition of, okay, I'm not going to say anything anymore, you know, which was awesome.
I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 29. I'll be 30 in July.
So yeah, basically, let's say 15 years of solid grinding in the music industry, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And here we are today.
Here we are, man. It's been
living the dream.
Quite the ride.
Yeah, and this probably feels like just the beginning too.
For sure. It feels like a point where I've learned so much and the timing is perfect that I think if it would have happened sooner, I probably wouldn't have capitalized the way I would capitalize today. So I would have missed something, you know?
Yeah.
So I think timing is perfect. And sometimes you just got to be patient, man.
Great life lesson right there. Talking about your sister being a mentor and your mom, what are the most kind of impactful things you've learned from both?
My mom has one of the kindest hearts in the world. So no matter what I did, she was never going to tell me it was a bad idea unless it was like really a bad idea. But she always believed in me no matter what. And I think that was always important. You know, I can always call her and tell her my problems and stuff or whatever I'm going through. And she wouldn't necessarily tell me to quit what I was doing because she would tell me to, you know, if you love it, do it. But my sister is more on the like harsh, like, you know, get your finances right. You only have so much time. You know, there's really important things to learn in life, which was also good. You know, I had a 720 credit at like 21 because of my sister, which was important, you know? So when I bought my first car, it was like my interest rate wasn't crazy high. And then I saw like, okay, there is levels, you know, you should really focus on certain things. And if you focus young, it'll pay off later. Yeah. So she's really helped me on I would say a financial state of just handling money and being smart with where you put money and, you know, stuff like that. And believing in yourself with whatever you do. You know, she has a very strong mind on whatever she puts her mind to, which I always saw growing up. So definitely helped. What
you mentioned never having a backup plan. Where does that come from? Where does that complete self-belief in yourself and it's always going to figure itself out, and the naive side of you that's just like, this is going to be my life, I'm going to do it no matter how many people tell me no?
Man, it's funny because 2 days ago, one of my best friends I grew up with, his name's Colt Lack, his dad called me, and I had this big show I opened up for the Floozies, and his dad is in a pretty successful band, but he's also was in the oil field or something, so he's had a successful life. But he called me 2 days ago and, you know, it was kind of like, hey, man, do you remember that conversation me and Colt had on my couch like 7 years ago? And I'm like, no. And he was like, we were telling you, you know, to have a plan B. And you looked at us dead in our eyes and was like, there's no plan B. Like, this is it. And so, you know, he was just telling me, like, I saw on Facebook these 2 shows, you know, and he was like, you're really doing it. And I think believing in yourself to a point where maybe some people think you're insane is what it takes, you know, because there's going to be a day where maybe nobody's around and no one believes in you, and you got to believe in yourself. Yeah. And if you do that, there's not really anything, you know, that's going to stop you from going wherever you want to go.
Yeah, you're right. And to have that moment too, and have him call you, and it takes a lot for someone like that to call anyway.
Yeah, I hadn't talked to him in 2 years, you know, so it was cool.
What band was he in? Do you know?
Just local bands. Okay. You know, he always had a ton of music equipment when we were growing up too, which was always cool to see. You know, big mixers and stuff. Like, I didn't know how to run. You know, and like huge speakers, they would travel a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it was cool to see that music side of it as well. Not exactly what I do, but I always kind of looked up to him as a kid as well, you know, just doing what he believed in.
Back to your mom and like the parenting side of, you know, and the care side, and having a sister that's 10 years older too, like there's clearly a care for you. What are the things that stand out for you that you hope to be in a dad?
I think being the youngest I was babied a whole lot, which was cool. I'm not going to complain about it, but I think there were some things that I missed that I could have learned quicker. And I think my goal as a father is to let my son struggle, but also help him learn while he struggles, you know, because you want them to learn in a way of where you just don't hand them everything. So my goal as a father is to teach him as fast as he can learn and take shortcuts, you know, that I've learned, to where he doesn't have to necessarily take 15 years if he wants to be a DJ to get to where I'm at. You know, it's like there's a lot of shortcuts you can take if you're willing to listen.
How would you feel if he entered the music industry and became a DJ?
That would be awesome, you know? Yeah, that would be awesome. We, for his first birthday, bought him like a little baby DJ set, so just as a joke, but he plays with it sometimes, you know? So
just to have the picture that when he does make it, you can say,
hey, you started at 1. You know, you went way earlier than me, buddy.
That's awesome. What's your son's name?
His name's Ro.
Okay.
Ro Ely.
Tell me the story behind the name.
So his mom actually found the first name, and at first I didn't really like it too much. But now that he's here, like, it is the perfect name for him. He calls himself Roro. Yeah. You know, see a picture of him. He's like, that's Roro. So everybody sings him, row, row your boat. You know, so he's kind of got a theme song, I guess.
Okay. You've done some Thunder stuff, right? Done some stuff with the Thunder?
Yeah, man. I just had my first gig on March 7th.
Sick.
Yeah, it was awesome.
What's that like, playing to a packed house?
You know, like I said, when I was younger, I wanted to go to the NBA so bad. Yeah. And so that's what I told my mom. I was like, Mom, I made it to the NBA. I'm just not playing basketball. So that was a cool moment for my family, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the arena, right? Like, you're going in. You're there as a DJ, but you're there.
Yeah.
How does that come about? What are you thinking? I mean, obviously you want to say yes to that gig, but what's going through your head? You're not just DJing to the Wolf Trap crowd or the collective. Like, you're in the arena now.
Right.
And this is just, not that the others aren't serious gigs, but like, this is a huge opportunity for you.
Yeah, it's the biggest gig I've ever done. I think it was something that I worked so hard for. I wasn't really that nervous once it came there. Like, I was nervous day of, but once I got in there, I was like, it's time to go, Yeah. And I just locked in, and it went by so fast, and it was so smooth. And in my head, I watch a lot of NBA already, but when Alex Caruso came here, I had people send me some DMs like, oh, your brother, came to Oklahoma City. And so when I got the opportunity to DJ, I was like, I have to dress up as Alex Caruso. There's just no other option. It's perfect. I'm bald, he's bald. We both have a beard. It was like it's meant to be, So I think I wanted to stand out a little bit and also kind of have a comedic side of it, when people walk in, like, oh, that's hilarious. So I had like little kids come up to me and want my autograph, and I felt bad because I was like, they probably think I'm Alex Caruso, but I'm signing my name,
Yeah. Did he see you?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't notice. He didn't. Like, we went down on the court, and I was going to try to maybe get his attention a little bit just to see, if he thought it was funny or whatever. He wasn't there. But what did happen is somebody from the corporate office came down, and they were like, hey, man, we thought Alex Caruso was playing a joke on us sitting down in his jeans. And we had to zoom in on your face, and then we figured out it wasn't. And so he was like, you got a business card? And so I gave him my business card, and they were kind of talking about making an Alex Caruso night. So I was like, man, if you do that, let me be a part of it for sure.
We need to make that happen.
Yeah.
We need to make that happen and have you and Caruso as twins.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Playing tricks on people to see who thinks is the real one.
Yeah. Only problem is he's 6'5".
You need to be sitting down.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're in some stilts or something. We can make it work though.
Yeah. So you DJ'd as where were you set up, and what was the gig like? What did you have to do?
So they have 4 entrances, I think, but 3 of them have DJs, and then they have their main DJ. So they put me at one of the entrances, and it's a pretty tight schedule what they have going on. You obviously got to play clean music, and very up tempo. You want to keep people interactive, but there's all ages, all ethnicities, so you got to kind of play 70s, 80s, new hip hop, old school hip hop. But it was just, it's different than anything I've ever played because people are just constantly moving. So, when I would have somebody dance for 10 seconds, I was like, oh, I got it. Like I'm in a vibe, But it was just constant movement,
Yeah.
People are just flooding in, ready for the game. So it was cool to see, how many people come through one door, and how many people support the Thunder and how many jerseys are being worn. I think the NBA team in Oklahoma has just been one of the biggest blessings for Oklahoma ever.
Yeah.
And we're also number one in the league, so it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
You talk about kind of just watching so many people come through the door and seeing all the ethnicities and all the ages. How do you then play to that? How does that develop your sound? And then how do you, with just the curiosity that you have as not only a DJ but as an audio engineer, to really kind of hone in on sound, your values, your making people happy, and because you're playing this, like, you can't just play one type of music, right? But then this also is a great training aid for you to go into nightclubs of all ethnicities and places to start broadening out your career. So how does that go about?
Yeah, I was raised on 70s and 80s music, which I love. It's some of my favorite. And there's some really popular songs that are still on commercials and stuff like that today that even little kids know.
Yeah.
So I played a lot of that stuff that's just familiar to people. And the new age music I play is normally sampled from that music. So even if they don't know it, they feel like they know it. Yeah. That's the kind of music I played. I wanted people to feel familiar when they were walking through the door of like, good vibes, let's go into the Thunder game and watch us get a dub.
Yeah.
That's kind of what my goal was for that.
What was your position on the basketball court when you were a kid?
I was a shooting guard.
Okay.
3-point shooter, man.
Just dropping threes from
dropping threes.
If I was on the basketball court right now, I don't think I could get the ball to the basket from the 3-point line.
Oh, I think I would have some trouble today for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a little rusty.
Not blaming it on my age because I'm only 34, but I didn't grow up playing basketball at all. I know nothing about it other than watching the Thunder. And
I feel like if I went on the golf course, it would be really bad.
Oh, we'd be dangerous together on the golf course and on the basketball court then. Let's talk about the future and just kind of the plan for obviously where you are now. You're getting gigs. You talk about this Thunder thing. It's just a huge step in the right direction. And how do you kick on from here? How do you take this career that you have and not only have it just in Oklahoma City, but give you an opportunity to just like travel and do awesome things, but to take your talent and your sound to other places?
Yeah, I think the goal there is now in my head. It's time to focus, So I did get the opportunity to go to Florida. Shout out to DJ Nate. I went out there and it was cool to see the culture and the music that they listen to is a little bit different than Oklahoma. And it kind of showed me that Oklahoma is a little bit behind in the music industry, especially in the club scenes. Much different vibe. They don't normally play just regular hip hop, like we do here. It's some type of remix of some sort, which like Jersey Club is one type of music. When I went to Florida, I'd never heard before, and everybody was, dancing to it. And I'm like, what is this music? How have I never heard this as a DJ?
Yeah.
And, DJ Nate Official is from Florida, and I actually met him organically from a club that I DJ'd at here. He got booked out to come close. Like the way I DJ, took me out there, showed me a lot. So I think the goal for me is to just continuously grow and try to promote myself a little bit more than what I have and see where it can go. I don't think the end goal for me is just to stay a DJ either. I think that I have a lot of really talented people around me. And it would be really cool to start something to give people a platform to not only try what they believe in, but to give them a platform to really do it. Mm-hmm. I think people have great ideas, and a lot of people will either procrastinate or the planning process just takes too long and you never get it done.
Yeah. So
I think that's my end goal is, especially to work with Josh on some type of collective group where we can just allow people to be as creative as possible.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Going around, meeting DJ Nate, going to Florida, and you talk about us being a little bit behind here. It seems like we have a really good base here, right? You talked about Josh, you talked about Zolny, and a few other buddies and people who are in the industry here that have the talent and the passion for it, but the scene isn't here yet. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about kind of dive into the passion and the people here and that scene that people aren't aware of. And then is there any aspirations to bring everybody together in like a huge collaboration way to do something massive in 5, 10, 15 years that's owning a club or just like, going, what do you see?
Yeah, I think as a DJ, I think it's our job to not only play music that people like, but to show them something new, and I think that all DJs here are definitely starting to do that more. Like the house scene and the EDM scene here is growing, and we used to not have that at all. The Latin scene is huge here. So I think, owning a club and booking DJs out and showing people music that they've never heard before, something different, could be an end goal for sure.
You talk about, I know a little bit about the EDM scene because that's kind of how I grew up back home is purely just dance music for the most part. It's like every country radio station in Oklahoma just turned that into a dance EDM station, and that's kind of what we listen to on every radio station. It's pretty epic when the sun's shining. It's pretty brutal on a Monday morning when you're going to work. But I don't know anything about the Latin scene here and the music and the clubs and that. So how's that been?
So I've been a resident DJ at this Latin club called Los Locos for almost 4 years now. And it has been quite the learning experience for me. But I've been fortunate enough that my roommate is a white dude, but his mom speaks Spanish, so he's fully fluent. So shout out Damon. He's helped me a lot. Just on I like to do a lot of wordplay stuff. Certain transitions will go into certain songs. And so when I'm doing Latin music, I have no idea what they're saying. So I have to ask him like, hey, what's this song about? And I'll be jamming my head and this song maybe super vulgar. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea, should I play this song that much? So it's been really cool though to see how consistent Latin people are, and how much they also enjoy going out every single weekend. Los Locos sells out every Saturday, and they've continuously done it for 3 years. So the Latin community is very strong here. And for them, I also throw in a little hip hop just to see how they vibe, and they seem to enjoy it as well. So it's been a really cool learning experience for me just to learn that culture. Because one goal of mine is I want to DJ on a cruise at some point.
Okay.
And I did some research, and they play a lot of Latin music. So I feel like I just fit right in right off the jump,
Yeah. Where's that club at?
It's on Sheridan. It's the main strip downtown. I'm not sure the exact address, but it's on Sheridan. I think there's only 5 clubs here.
Oh, so it's like Bricktown area.
Area.
Where all the other clubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same street. You walk down the street, you'll find it eventually.
Yeah, you'll stumble into something.
Yeah.
That's really cool to have that and have that friend, obviously, to help you out.
It's helped me more than I could possibly imagine, for sure.
What fascinates you about going on a cruise?
I've never been on one, and I think I want to just see multiple places in one trip, without spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think the cruise is the only way to do that. Okay. And I've had people go on them and, say they're fun, and then I've had people go on them and say they hate them. But I enjoy the water, and I enjoy the ocean. As scary as it is, I don't want to be in it, but being on a cruise ship, makes me...
floating city.
Yeah. It's like...
You won't even feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of cruise gigs, it seems like they're quite a long... You don't just jump on one and go, right? It seems like you can sign up for a season and
you could sign up for a whole season, and you'd get to see multiple different countries, cities, all types of stuff. So I think that's kind of what draws me to that. I really want to travel as much as possible, just see things I haven't seen before.
Yeah. So last couple of questions. If you could wave the magic wand and you look back 50 years from now when you're sitting in your rocking chair, reminiscing with your buddies about what you used to do and how cool you are and all the DJ stuff that you've done, what would stand out to you as a successful career and a successful life?
I think at the end of the day, doing what you love, and not hating your job, to me, is successful. And I know a lot of people who hate their job, man, and I'm not one of those people. So at this point in time, I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at. If it doesn't go any farther, I can say I made it this far. and I've been happy doing it.
Yeah.
I don't go to sleep at night being like, damn, I gotta wake up for my job tomorrow, you know, which is great because I've done that before for sure. Yeah, construction was one of those. It was a terrible job. I hated it every moment that I had. So
with my day job's real estate, and like driving through new construction neighborhoods and seeing how impressive those guys are at roofing houses and building houses, and I'm like, I wouldn't survive.
I almost didn't. I mean, my back was killing me every day. You know, I was dehydrated, just always in the sun or the freezing cold. You know, it was just, you got lucky if it was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the roughest job I've ever had.
I mean,
there was high moments though, you know, where you frame a whole house and then the house is finished and you're like, damn, I built that house. You know, that was like probably the coolest moment I had in construction.
Yeah. You survived. That's a good thing.
I survived, man.
Final question. Since I'm in the real estate world, I always finish with this one. If you were to build your dream house today, what's in your dream house? What's the non-negotiables? And what does it look like?
Mine would probably be some type of log cabin, a lot of wood. I love wood features, big beams, and I would have a basketball court, man.
Full court?
Full court. Have the friends come over and we play 5-on-5, you know?
Outside or inside?
It'd have to be inside. You'd have to be able to play all year. If I had my dream home, it'd be inside for sure.
Okay. Log cabin, indoor basketball court.
Maybe in the mountains.
Maybe in the mountains.
That's my dream home. On a ski resort.
Keep going. This is a dream home. Don't stop it.
That's it, man. Okay. That would be it.
Yeah, we're not going to have mountains in Oklahoma, but you can go somewhere else to find those mountains. For sure. And always return, you know, everyone comes home. It's fine because you got to play your Thunder gig. Last question. I always do this. Who would you love to open for? And then who would you love to open for you one day?
One of my favorite rappers right now and has been for a couple years is Larry June. I would love to open up for Larry June or even just work with him in general. I love what his music is about and his passion. It's kind of the same. He's one of the only really successful artists not signed, you know, so he's all organic, which I love. And artists open up for me, I'm not really sure about that one. You know, I'm still the guy who's opening up for people. So at some point, if I get to that point, you know, I would love to put on any kid who has the same passion that I do, I think is where I would go with that one.
Yeah. Do you see yourself in anybody coming up right now?
There's a lot of really talented DJs coming up right now. I'm pretty new to the game. I'm 4 years in. So I still have, you know, a few mentors who have been in the game for 15, 20 years, you know, who I still look up to, who are great DJs. But there are a lot of young people, you know, picking up a DJ board who are also very talented that I've seen. Yeah. I've actually trained a couple DJs. Kayleen is one of them. She's doing phenomenal as well as a DJ, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. How do people find you and what do you have coming up this summer?
You can find me Gold Lincoln on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And coming up, I got a Pony Boy gig 22nd, which is one of my favorite places to play. Yours truly, the 29th. My friend DJ Nate Official from Florida is going to come down and DJ Yours Truly with me. Other than that, Friday night, Las Locas every Friday is my resident.
Okay. For people listening who haven't had that experience and need to experience it, come on down.
It's 40% hip hop, 60% Latin. So I could show you a thing or two for sure.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to see some things and enjoy it. You can't leave that place without a big smile on your face. Keaton, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for sharing your story. Awesome, man. I'm glad that you didn't give up, right? Like, that's the thing that stands out for me straight away is the fact that you've gone through so many, you know, kickbacks, right? You've had, setbacks. Let's say you had a bunch of setbacks, and whether they're your fault or someone else's fault, you know, you kept your head up and kept looking forward and, you know, dove into making yourself better every day, whether that's health, fitness, or your craft as a DJ. So I'm excited to follow you on from here. And I think, like we said earlier, this is only the beginning.
Yeah, it's only the beginning, man. For anybody out there, keep going and keep growing. Don't give up.
Definitely.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Shout out to the branch. Shout out to the branch for hosting us. Shout out to AP Promotions for soon to be renamed. And thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Turn your dream home into a reality with Home Creations, a family-owned and operated builder with over 40 years of trusted experience right here in Oklahoma. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to schedule a showing or visit our website for more details. Home Creations, building homes, shaping futures, strengthening communities.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.